Are you over 50 and feeling like your running game isn't what it used to be? You are not alone. Well, today we're going to dive into the 6 reasons why that is, and more importantly, how to fix it.
Imagine your running journey is like rolling this 6-sided dice. Each face represents a critical factor influencing your speed and performance as an over 50s runner. The first face is thinking that you can train the way you used to in your 20s and 30s. We need to set realistic goals as we age. The reason for this is that we can't expect to perform the way we did in our 20s and 30s. And this is because our physiology has changed. As we get older, we start to see many different physiological changes. A lot of decline in those physiological changes, including a decline in lean muscle mass and a decline in VO2 max. Essentially, what is happening is that there are changes within the mitochondrial density. So the mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cell. That's where you get all your energy from. And as we age, the density or the number of those mitochondria changes over time. That is why our endurance changes as well. The changes with the lean muscle mass, or that loss of lean muscle mass, also affect your heart. Your heart has cardiac muscle, and as a result, with the loss of muscle, so there is loss of cardiac output. Both of those things obviously affect your endurance and your ability to perform from an endurance perspective. Latest research has also shown that there is a difference in the way that males and females age from a VO2 max perspective. Males tend to see a decline in VO2 max in a more central sort of fashion, so essentially within the heart and the lungs. And while females also see that decline in this area, a lot of their decline in VO2 max is from a peripheral perspective, so a lot more within the muscles and the neuromuscular junctions on the periphery of the body. And so it's unrealistic to expect that you can do what you did in your 20s with essentially a declining physiology. It's the same as expecting your PC or your Mac from the 1980s to perform the way a modern PC or Mac does. And so setting realistic goals and expectations of where you are now is really key. Along with that, you need to train for where you are now and not where you were. It doesn't mean to say that we won't or can't set good goals and achieve those goals, but we just need to be a little bit more specific about where we are. Dev, go along.
The second face of the dice is the reason a lot of runners over the age of 50 are slowing down. This is because they are running all their runs too hard and often thinking you need to run every single run at race pace. Now, I'm not saying you need to run all your runs easy, but your easy runs need to be easy. Very easy, and they need to make up at least 80% of your weekly volume, potentially even as much as 90% of your weekly training volume. The reason we don't want to be running every run at race pace or too hard is because it puts a lot of stress on your body. It's extremely demanding on your muscles and on your joints. By running slower, or rather easy, it allows less stress on those joints and muscles, but at the same time still getting the same aerobic benefit, which means we can run our next training sessions feeling really fresh and, more importantly, be super fresh come race day. Let's get into a little bit of physiology. We have 2 main energy systems that we can train: aerobic and anaerobic. Now, the anaerobic energy system operates in the absence of oxygen and relies almost exclusively on carbohydrates to produce that energy. The other energy system, being the aerobic system, relies on oxygen to produce energy using ketones, carbohydrates, and fats. It's not a case of one versus the other. We are always using both energy systems to some degree. However, to run longer, we have to have a highly developed aerobic system. By training very aerobically, we are able to more efficiently deliver energy around the body, allowing us to train at higher relative intensities or speeds. By training too close to that anaerobic line, which ultimately is a higher demand on the body, we have a detraining effect of your aerobic metabolism. Since the anaerobic metabolism can only really last about 30 to 40 minutes, once those energy supplies have been depleted, you then are forced to slow down to your lowest common denominator, ultimately being your aerobic metabolism, which if detrained means you are forced to slow down to meet the required energy demands. This, coupled with the fact that training too close to that anaerobic line means it puts a lot of demand on your muscles, leaving you really feeling tired and sore and not fresh enough come race day. Also, the closer to this line that you train, the higher your risk of injury, illness, or overtraining. So training slower allows for consistency and builds aerobic capacity.
The next reason you're running slow is like the side of the dice that comes up when you roll it too recklessly. You're trying to do too much in the week. Running every day prevents your body from getting the essential rest that it needs to ensure that you recover optimally and stops you from getting tired all the time. Cross-training offers a beneficial twist. It's like a different side of the dice, offering variety and recovery benefits. However, substituting cross-training for a run can be a strategic roll of the dice.
Another reason that you might be slowing down as a runner over 50 is that you're not recovering enough. You're constantly finding yourself tired and fatigued, and the reason for that is because as an aging runner, you think that you need to work harder and harder and harder to get to the points where you used to be. If you find that you need to work harder and harder and harder, all you're doing is just digging yourself into a deeper hole, and that is going to make your running worse. When we start to understand that during rest and recovery is actually when you're getting the benefits of the exercise, you will start to see rest and recovery as important, if not more important, than your running and strength sessions. Earlier, I spoke about the physiological changes and the declines that are happening that will affect your running, and as a result, we actually need to add more rest and recovery into our running. At least one full rest day a week so that you're getting the benefits of all this work that you're doing. And by full rest day, I mean no running, no cross training, and no strength on that day.
Think of the next reason like rolling a dice and landing on the number 5. It's usually a high score in most games and one that we really want to try and get more often. In this case, I'm talking about strength training. As we age, the loss of muscle mass is inevitable. That goes without saying. However, by adding strength training to your program, we can reduce the rate of that muscle loss and in most cases actually reverse the loss. There's two main reasons why it is important to include the strength training. Firstly, injury prevention. The more we do strength training and the right kind of strength training, we're fortifying your muscles, your joints, your ligaments, and your tendons to allow you to handle a lot more training load, and as a result, reduces that risk of injury. The second being our performance or improving our running performance. This again can be broken down into two factors. The first one is enhancing your performance by improving your force production. The stronger our muscles are, the more force we're able to put into the road or into each running stride, and as a result propel ourselves forward with a lot more force. The second side to that is our running efficiency. Think of weak muscles, so weak glutes, weak quads, and that affecting the alignment of your hips. Dives your knee in, and now you can imagine that when you are trying to propel yourself forward, there's this little bit of collapsing or buckling. That means you need to work quite hard to just get yourself upright, improve that alignment before propelling yourself forward. If we can have strong quads, strong glutes, that alignment is already there. It allows you to structurally be strong, and as a result means we can work less to propel ourselves forward, making you more efficient as a runner and really focus that energy on going forward at better speed. The last reason why strength training is so important is that it improves your resistance to fatigue, not only in your running performance, but also in everyday activities. Strength training isn't just about the muscles, but it's a foundation that supports your body's resilience, mobility, and effectiveness in everything you do.
Now, the next reason, or side of the dice, as to why you are running slow is not about discipline. Runners get out of bed to do the work. It's about doing as many of the right things as you can as often as possible so that you can continue to train week after week, month after month, and year after year. Missing these pillars means gaps in the wall, meaning that you can't build building block on top of building block, meaning that you're not going to get the progress that you're after. Staying consistent is exactly how you're going to become the best runner you can be. Let's face it, running as you get older is tough, and I really want to help you. And that's why I'm going to share with you the rule of 5 ones to help you run pain-free.